by keeping an open mind, by really spending time to listen to people, to understand where they're coming from, this has always helped me, because people as well, they see that I'm not just telling them, well, do this, do that, but I also try to understand, and because I spend time with them, trying to understand where they're coming from and why they're thinking a certain way.
Are you a solopreneur looking to 2 times your revenue to fund your lifestyle and give back? Well, this podcast is for you. We bring you inspirational guests sharing actionable tips to solve many of the struggles you face each and every day. And now over to your host, Paul Higgins.
Hello to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you're a first-time listener, welcome. And if you're a regular, thanks for your support. Love to get your feedback, paul@buildlivegive.com. Our guest today is someone who worked as a quality manager and a project manager for some of the biggest brands in the world, including Amazon. But in 2017, she left to travel the world and to tap into her 5 languages. That's right, 5 languages she speaks. She's lived in 6 countries, and she now helps leaders navigate the cultural nuances that exist in an ever-growing global world. So why listen? One is she'll talk about how you determine what you should do when you leave corporate. The other is, as the world becomes more international, how do you deal with some of the countries that aren't moving at the same pace as others? And thirdly, how do you gain more engagement on LinkedIn, which is one of my favorite platforms? So what I'll do now is hand you over to Virginie Lemay-Vriesde from VLV Coach. Welcome, Virginie Lemay-Vriesde, to the Build, Live, Give podcast. Great to have you here, Virginie.
Thank you, Paul, for having me. I'm really excited.
Excellent. So are we. So the first question I wanted to ask is, what's something your family or friends would know about you that we wouldn't?
Oh, that's a great question. I would say that they know that I've lived in 6 different countries so far, and I therefore speak fluently 5 languages, French, English, German, Dutch, and Italian.
That's amazing. And I know this is a bit like picking children, but of the 6, which one do you slightly favour more than the others?
Strangely enough, I would say English, because I've always worked in big American or British companies, so I've spoken more English than French, actually. So I'm more comfortable in expressing myself in English nowadays than French, unless it's really something personal. If it's related to health, or if I speak to my mom, for instance, then obviously in French I'm more comfortable.
Yes.
But in the day-to-day conversation, I think English has become the most important language now in my life.
Excellent. And out of the 6 countries that you lived in, where would you prefer to live? You know, what's your sort of favourite in the countries that you've lived in?
So I'm struggling between 2, actually. Now I'm Luxembourg, as you know. So, and yes. I think Luxembourg is I call it the best kept secret in Europe, because it's a very beautiful country, very quiet, very international. So I really, really like it here. Yes. However, I used also to live 1 year in Italy. And Italy was simply amazing. The language, the food, the people, the places to see. My heart would go between the 2, although I must say from a standard or the quality of life, Luxembourg is definitely better than Italy. But from landscape and culture, etc., definitely Italy.
Excellent. Now, I know you've had a fantastic career, mainly in quality project management, working for some massive names, ABN AMRO, Royal Bank of Scotland, Amazon.
Yes.
You had that great career, but what made you think of going and running your own coaching business?
So basically, as you said, I've always worked in big international companies. And in April 2017, I decided to resign from Amazon because my husband and we wanted to travel the world a little bit. So we did. And then when I came back at the end of 2017, beginning of 2018, I was wondering, okay, what should I do? Should I go back to work? And if so, where? And a lot of my ex-colleagues from Amazon were telling me, oh, you have to come back and work for Amazon. And I was like, yeah, maybe, why not? But there was nothing really that I was interested in. And then I thought, well, maybe that's the good time for me to start something on my own. And if so, what? So I kind of coached myself, looked at what I'd like to do, what I was good at, what people were talking or were saying about me. And then I realized that my former colleagues all were telling me that I was very good at coaching, developing, mentoring people. And I was thinking, and I said to myself, well, actually, that's true. That's what I've always done throughout my career, even though I never had the title of a coach officially. I've always managed teams with people from different countries, different cultures. I've always helped them get promotions, go for another job, develop themselves. And I was like, yeah, actually, that's what I like to do. And that's what I'm good at. And then, of course, there are so many coaches out there, as you know. So people were telling me, well, you need to distinguish yourself. So again, looking at my strengths, I thought, well, I've always had leadership roles in my career, maybe not the first 2 years, but otherwise I've always managed people. And because, again, I've worked in big international organizations, I've always had this multicultural aspect. So that's how I decided. I thought, okay, if I don't try now, I may regret it later. So I have nothing to lose, only things to learn and to gain. And that's how I decided to start last year as a leadership coach, basically.
Excellent. Well, look, I know that was a similar journey to me, I suppose, when I left corporate, similar thing, themes. That's why I went and did coaching to begin with. I quickly realised that I'm an ideas man, and coaching, I was too impatient. So that's when I moved to consulting, but similar journey at the start. And I always ask people, was it easier or harder, the transition, when you finally made it?
I think I'm still in the process. I think it's harder. And probably the reason is because I did not realize, first of all, the amount of information there is on the internet. Of course, I'm still learning every day on different tools there are and what you need to do to be visible out there. So I didn't realize, and I've been overwhelmed by the amount of information. And also I didn't realize how many coaches are out there. Mm-hmm. So how to distinguish yourself. So I would say for me, it was probably harder than expected, but still, as I say, I'm enjoying it because I'm really learning something new every day, meeting new people every day as well. And that's the part I really like.
Excellent. I know you said you did some self-coaching when you left, but has there been anyone else that supported you, a mentor, a coach, a mastermind? Is there anyone else that currently supports you in your business?
Yeah, of course. So I have my husband, obviously, who has been a great support here, encouraging me, well, if that's what you want to do, then you should go for it. So that's been very helpful. And obviously I spoke with some former colleagues of mine or friends to ask them what they thought. And their reaction was like, yeah, go for it. It's the perfect job for you. You're fit for that and you can do it. So I've been very, very lucky to have that support around me. And my family, obviously, my mom as well was very supportive. So yeah.
Brilliant. Well, the next section is the build section. And when someone comes up to you and says, hey, Virginie, what do you actually do? How do you best describe that?
So what I do, I try to help professionals who work in international organizations optimize their potential. And by that, I'm trying to see, okay, where do they want to go? And where they are now, and what is the gap and what they need to do to fill that gap. So maybe they need to acquire new skills, new knowledge, new habits, or maybe they need to get rid of certain habits. So I like to do that, whether it's in a one-on-one setting or in a group coaching or training, facilitating workshops. I enjoy very much when there are several people, because again you can really work on some team building activities, and people, when they have questions, they can also think of something else, and you see a different type of energy going on. So that's why I try to do to help my clients to help them see that there are other ways. There are challenges, of course. We all go through challenges, but it's our attitude and our mindset that helps us go through and move on to the next step and become a better person, a better version of ourselves.
Yeah, and you talked before about, there are so many coaches out there. And what are the things that you have that are distinct? As you said before, your point of difference. What is distinct about the way that you particularly coach that may be different to others?
So I use my experience obviously a lot when I coach people, because first, as you know, I'm a woman. So, and we know as well, women have big challenges in the workplace, maybe not always being recognized as they should. So I provide younger women with tips and things that maybe they should think of or should do or shouldn't do. Also, the fact that I left France more than 20 years ago, and as I said, I lived in different countries. I've also managed people with from different cultures, and I've traveled a lot in my life. So I can really relate to what people are going through if they are working with people from another nationality whose native language is not English. What are the things they need to pay attention to? Or if someone is moving to another country and is now working for this big company abroad and is struggling with settling down or finding the right place for them in the country, I can again relate to them because I've been there, I've been in their shoes. So I use a lot of my experience and try to tell them or give them tips on how to think and the things they can do, make suggestions, etc., so that they see that I'm just not talking, but I've lived that as well. And that helps because, again, people know that I'm not just talking because I've seen that somewhere. No, I've been there, and that's how I try to help them and differentiate myself.
Excellent. And as far as getting through the gatekeepers, because I'm assuming you work with a lot of large enterprises, how do you go about getting to your ideal client, who is often, I suppose, definitely women, but also other key managers in these companies? Yeah, give us a couple of tips on the way that you found your way around that.
So for me, I think the main thing that has helped me throughout my career and my life, I would say, is to keep an open mind. We often assume things, and sometimes we do it unconsciously. And by keeping an open mind, by really listening to others and asking questions, we can learn so much. We can learn so much from a culture, but also from people. We obviously all have different personalities, but when you're dealing with someone from another country, you may realize things you never realized before. And I always say what is obvious for me may not be obvious for you, for instance, and vice versa. So really, by keeping an open mind, by really spending time to listen to people, to understand where they're coming from, this has always helped me, because people as well, they see that I'm not just telling them, well, do this, do that, but I also try to understand. And because I spend time with them, trying to understand where they're coming from and why they're thinking a certain way, then after, people will really trust me and they will want to work with me and for me and really work towards achieving goals. So that would be what has worked for me most of my life, is really keeping that open mind and be open to other suggestions. We now live in a global world with people from all over the world, men and women, people from different generations as well, and there is nobody in this world who knows everything. So keeping an open mind is key in my mind.
Yeah, and have you seen a switch? Like you said, you left France 20 years ago, lived in 6 countries. Have you seen a shift in, is business and the way that business done, is it becoming more and more international, or is there still very much cultural norms by country that you need to understand to be successful in business?
That's a great question. I think the world is becoming more international, so countries do have to adapt and move in that direction. However, you have countries like France, unfortunately, that are also very rooted in their origins. And in a way, it's good. But in other ways, you also see that sometimes they are a bit behind other countries. And just the example that you don't have so many people who speak fluent English. They do speak business English, but they don't speak as fluently English as, for instance, in the Netherlands. And the reason is because of the culture. France wants to keep French as its own language. And as I said, it is normal and this is the right thing. However, I think they should also be more open-minded and allow for people to practice English a bit more. For instance, all the films in France, and it's not only in France, in Germany, Italy, Spain is the same, but all the films are dubbed straight away in the local language. So you never get the opportunity to listen to English and therefore to practice your English. Mm-hmm. So these little things, I think they should be more open-minded and try to move forward. On the other hand, you have to be conscious of the French culture. If I talk about France again, and there are certain things you need to kind of follow, like in every country. So it's finding the right balance, I would say, but definitely it's going towards the being more international for sure.
Great. And what's the number one challenge you face in growing your coaching practice at the moment?
Being visible, as I said, there are so many coaches out there. Some, as you know, I'm posting regularly on LinkedIn and Facebook. I'm going to lots of networking events here in Luxembourg as well, trying to show people that I exist and what I can do for them. So that would be my main challenge, trying to be visible and show people what I can do.
And I know, I looked at your posts today before we went on on air, and you're getting fantastic amount of likes and comments on your posts. What are some of the key reasons you're getting so much engagement on your posts? Please share.
So I didn't start today. I've been posting now for a bit more than a year, not every day, but at least 4 times per week. And I would say I engage a lot. So I do not only post my posts, but I also comment a lot on other people's posts. And sometimes I will say just a great post just to encourage people, but I often try to add something into my post. So I think people appreciate that. And because I do that, and also people start to know where my strengths are, so I'm often posting about leadership, about diversity, communication, women, etc. So people now tag me more and more in their posts as well, which I always take that as an honor. So I think that's why I'm getting lots of engagement of my posts, because people just see that I'm not only posting posts from myself, but I also engage a lot on other people's posts as well.
Great. And how do you pick those other people?
Random, as I say, sometimes it's people who will tag me. Sometimes it's just what appears in my feed. Sometimes people will send me a link on their post and they say, "Oh, I've just put that. I thought you might find it interesting." So it's really random. And sometimes I just think of people in my network, and then I'm like, "Oh, I haven't checked them out for in quite a while. Let me see what they've been doing." So I go to their most recent posts and start writing comments there. So it's really random, I would say.
Great. And it may be Facebook or LinkedIn, but what's your number one source of gaining new leads?
LinkedIn mainly.
Great. And is that mainly through the posting, or do you also do any direct outreach?
So it's mainly posting. I need to get better at contacting people on LinkedIn as well. So at the moment, it's mainly posting. Yes.
Okay, excellent. Well, look, before we go into the next section, which is the live section, it's funny that we're talking about LinkedIn. I would just like to give you some of the secrets behind what some of the top LinkedIn users are doing around the world. So if you go to blg-live.com, blgdownload.com. So that's blgdownload.com. You'll be able to get that. And what we'll also show you is a way that we're getting 5 to 10 quality leads a month for people without being icky. And it's very much what Virginie's doing is around posting and then doing some follow-up from there. So if you'd like to get enjoyable leads, go to blgdownload.com. Now back to the live section. So tell us about some daily habits which help you to be successful.
Yes. So first, in the morning, I usually start my day by doing some yoga and meditation. Sometimes I do not manage to do that every day, but at least, again, 4 or 5 times per week, I do that. So that would be the first thing I do. I'm also a very healthy person, so I'm a vegetarian. I don't eat meat. I barely eat fish or eggs. So I'm very careful about the food I eat. I want to make sure I'm getting all the vitamins and nutrients that I can get so that I am as efficient as possible. And I also exercise on a regular basis. You may have seen in some of my posts, Paul, I'm a salsa dancer, so I go and
Yes.
dance at least twice per week. I also go for walks. I also do go to the gym and the yoga as well. So these 3 main things are what keeps me efficient and healthy, and allow me also to release my stress and go through all the days as the best way I can.
Excellent. And on average, sort of, because that's a great amount of me time, which is fantastic. That was going to be one of my questions. But on average, sort of, how many hours a week are you working at the moment?
So I try to not to work too long hours because a few years ago I had a burnout. So I'm very conscious as well that I need some me time, as you say. I would say still 40, 50 hours per week. The advantage is, as you know, when you're working for yourself, you don't have to get up for 8 o'clock and be in the office at 8 o'clock in the morning. So I usually start my days a bit later, but then I also work later in the evening. So that's how I shift.
Yeah, and I'm assuming there's less early morning flights
exactly.
that you used to take. If I ever do fly, which is rare at the moment, I make sure I avoid the hectic days, the Monday, the Fridays, go in the middle of the day, all of those great joys you have when you run your own business.
Exactly.
And your partner that you mentioned before, Reggie, which is the Australian version of his beautiful name. You say his name?
Regilio.
Oh, much better than me. But he's listening right now. So what would you like to say to him about the support he's given you through this journey?
To thank him. As I said, I would not be able to do or to have started my own business if he hadn't been there to support me. So I'm very grateful every single day that I have this opportunity. I know not everybody have this opportunity to have a partner who supports them mentally, financially, etc. And I'm very lucky from that point of view. So thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, the next section's the give section. And what's a charity or a community that you're passionate about and why?
Mm-hmm. So I'm very passionate about diversity and diversity in its broad terms. So it's not only trying to help more women getting at the top of the corporate ladder or going for their own company as an entrepreneur, but it's also helping people from other cultures or other countries being given chances, people from different generations as well, giving a chance to the millennials, but also people who are above 50, who have lots and lots of experience and a lot of things to offer. So I'm really a fan of diversity, and every chance I get, I try to support in any way I can.
Brilliant. Well, the last section's the action section, where I'll ask you some questions and get some rapid fire responses. So the first one is, what are your top 3 personal effectiveness tips?
Prioritize. me time, as we said before, and the health. So watch what you're eating, because you are what you eat.
Excellent. And from a technology point of view, what's a piece of technology that you use that you couldn't be without in running your business?
Just internet. I would say I'm 99% of the time on browsing, whether it's going on LinkedIn or reading articles, watching videos on YouTube, documentaries, etc. So I would say browser, yeah.
Excellent. And what's your best source for new ideas to improve you and your business?
So I have several. Again, internet, reading a lot, what people are doing, reading books and observing as well. I've noticed that even in the most common situation, there's always a lesson to draw. So just observing, whether it's in nature or when I walk in the city or watching TV or films, for instance.
Excellent. And the last questions I'll leave, or the last question I've left is the big one. And it's, what impact do you want to leave on the world?
So what I'd like is to inspire people with my stories and my tips. I'm trying to help as many people as I can so that they do not have to reinvent the wheel, that they can learn some lessons from what I've been through, whether it's in my personal or professional life. So if I can inspire just one person, then I think I've achieved my goal.
Excellent. Well, I think today you've inspired more than one, or you've definitely inspired one, which is me. And I'm sure you've inspired many other people listening today. So you can find more about Virginie and the great work she's doing at her LinkedIn profile, which will have that and everything else that's been mentioned by Virginie in the show notes, or not everything, but the key points. And also you can go to vlv.coach to find out more about Virginie as well. So thanks for coming on. You're my first person from Luxembourg. And even if I do have another, I don't think they'll be a salsa dancer. So it was wonderful having you on the show today.
Thank you very much, Paul, for having me.
Thanks, Virginie. Have a great day.
You too. Thank you.
That was a great interview with Virginie, my first person from Luxembourg. So very exciting. So you can get all the show notes and all the actions mentioned in the podcast at buildlivegive.com. Just go to the podcast section. If you'd love to be a guest on the show, please click the email logo on the homepage and just send me an email. If you'd like to get more leads with LinkedIn, download our great resource at blgdownload.com. So please take action to build your business, to fund your lifestyle, and to give back.
Thank you for listening to the Build, Live, Give podcast. If you like what you heard, please subscribe and leave us a review. It would mean the world to us.